I'm curious about the taking notes because as long as I've known you, you've taken notes. As a homeschooler, I was brought up to think that taking notes and learning something was a currency. And I really admired that. And I realized even when I was young and I didn't have any money resources, that ideas were a currency. And oddly enough, I've ended up creating my lifestyle now and my living based off of that currency. So, share with me at the very first time when you realized, because you said you were taking notes and making book reports as a kid, but tell me about when you very first recognized that ideas were, in fact, the currency.
Well, I don't know that in the beginning that I saw it that way. I innately wanted to excel. And so understanding things and being informed of things and learning how things worked were just important to me. I had one brother who was 5 years older than I am, and he was very intelligent. And I wanted to be, in some respects, like him. So I would read his books. I remember one Christmas, he got the complete works of Shakespeare. And so when I was in junior high school, I went through the complete works of Shakespeare because I felt that would be valuable. And in those formative years, I went through and read all of the classics. That's just kind of how I formed my reality. I only wanted to do things that were valuable to me, things that I could use in my own life. So that's how I differentiated things.
How did you decide for you what was meaningful and what was just kind of something that could be left by the wayside?
Well, I've gained a lot of insight over the years. So at the time, I didn't have the full understanding that I do today. In a lot of ways, I didn't come from an ideal situation in that my parents were not very well educated. We were relatively poor on the economic scale. So a lot of the perspectives that I gained early on were not ideal. I have experienced things through the years. I realized that there's a better way to live with forming your own opinions and your outlooks that are based on different principles. So I began to put together the things that I felt were valuable to me. And if I wanted to grow and progress and become like the person I wanted to be, these were the kinds of things that I want to remember and I want to incorporate into my life. And so that's the distinction that I made. Is this valuable to me? Can I implement it or not? When I did my book reports, they reflected that belief system that I wanted to incorporate these ideas and become a better person.
When you made the decision that something was of value to you, was it made on an intellectual perspective or a gut instinct perspective?
Well, I'm sure it was both. Like I say, we learn from our experiences as well as our knowledge base in our mind. So I've gone through several environments in my life where military service and corporations, and I've seen the characteristics of people. I just began to differentiate between sort of what was the natural flow for people who didn't really have a design or a blueprint for their life, and to see the stark difference between people who were successful and who were intelligent and had put their act together. Making those differentiations were important to me, and I began to differentiate between lifestyles and belief systems. I suppose it's a look into reality. How do you define reality? It's really different for every person. Every person creates their own reality, the world that they live in, by the decisions that they make and the opinions that they have, how they're influenced by the news media or the culture in which they live.